I want to talk about my first job. There's the first internship and first job. Okay, let me just go back a little bit. My first internship was at how many internships have I done? Um, I think three. But because you're talking about the first, let me talk about my first internship. My first internship was at A24 Media. It was in Lavington, Mzima Springs. A24 Media actually focused on producing um, Africa Journal. If you know Africa Journal, it was a Pan African media outlet where they could share stories around the continent and what is happening in Africa. And so that is where I had my internship for 3 months. It was just nice getting to know what is happening around Africa. I helped with research. I helped with the digitization of they had this big, this big tapes that had been there for so many years. And part of my work, I remember, was just digitizing them, ensuring that we have a digitized version of those tapes. So those are some of the things I did at A24 Media. And I just loved being in the presence of a media house that I watched when I was a baby. You get it. I watched it when I was a baby I watched it for so long. I never ever imagined that I could be somewhere working with and for Africa Journal. But that was my first internship. My first job, wow. After studying broadcast media and a minor in international relations from USIU, my first job was a writing job. By the way, when I enrolled in broadcast journalism, I wanted to be on TV. Man, here I've always wanted to be on TV. And I did a lot of interviews in media houses. I do not know how many times I went to Nation House, to KTN, so many times. I did interviews left, right, and center in media houses, but then I never got to the screen. So I told myself, well, time will come. So my first job was actually a writing job. And are you seeing that dynamic, nature of just moving from boom to boom? Communications is broad, media is broad, and you can be knowing this, but you're taken to this. But in my previous conversation with you, as I was just telling you how it all started, I was good with screenwriting as well and scripting. So I think writing was not such a hassle for me. So I became a staff writer at Up Magazine. I was first an intern for 3 months, and then they absorbed me into becoming the staff writer. So I was the lifestyle staff writer. So that meant I was in charge of all the editorials for lifestyle. That meant fashion. Wow, I was up and about in Nairobi, writing about food, writing about fashion, music, art. It was so much. I don't know if I ever slept. I was just up and about, and man, I found it so thrilling and so fun. And that was my job, and I loved it for the time it lasted. And just having a team that was so diverse as well, diverse with imagination, diverse with creativity. And it was an amazing place to be, I could say. And that is where actually my creativity just sprouted. Like there's like a boom of my creativity. So I ended up learning how to develop content and writing blurbs. That you can caption pictures, caption videos and all that. So that's where I realized, wow, I'm actually good with words. And from that time, I started calling myself the content queen. Because yes, I started, it skyrocketed. My gift just skyrocketed, and I wrote about anything and everything, and it was a good experience. But I also want to tell you about how I moved on from there and wrote for one of the biggest magazines in East Africa. Let me tell you, I actually do miss magazines. I don't know why magazines are not really working in the Kenyan landscape, but I loved magazines. If there was someone who read magazines in Kenya, me, I was the first one to read magazines. So I wrote for Drum East Africa. Can you believe it? I wrote for Drum East Africa and Home and Living magazine. So they had True Love, Drum East Africa, and Home and Living. So what happened was that I hooked up. You know, it's good to go for events because at events is where you meet people and you socialize and you network and you meet someone who can actually catapult you to your next level of growth. So I met this one lady called Irene Oso, and she held my hand, and she I was always in communication with her. And one day she tells me there's an opening for a writer at our magazine and I'd like you to write for us. And that's how I got the job. So I always used to move in Nairobi interviewing homeowners. Yeah? Homeowners, interior designers. How did you choose this color? Why this material? Why the blend? It was so fun. It was so fun. I think if you asked me where I felt comfortable in my career, there, because I loved it, and every story that I told, man, was magical and beautiful. I have those magazines up to date. I can, share with your face as well. So that's how my first jobs began as a writer. Loving it, definitely. And yeah, you could also just share with me your first job, share with us your first job. How did it feel for you? I know sometimes first jobs are not really the jobs that you want, but I'm just happy that my first jobs were still within the line of what it is I wanted to do and to be at that time. So yeah, that's what I can say for now. Cheers.